as the actual vice president for the commercial lending department. And Mr. Robert, I so appreciate you taking your time out and visiting with us today. So if you have questions for Mr. Robert, make sure that you post them in Facebook, post them here on Podbean, and that way we'll make sure we get those questions answered. So for now, I'm super excited to turn the floor over to our guest speaker today, as we're going to be diving in and talking about some commercial lending, or commercial funding. I believe the correct term was commercial lending. Is that correct, Robert?
That is correct.
Okay, so we're going to be educating on commercial lending. So I'm super excited. So Robert, what got you started in the commercial field?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Sunny. I appreciate it, and look forward to our 30, 45 minutes of Q&A and information on commercial lending. I started lending right out of college, actually, in 96. Worked for a few mortgage companies, then got involved with commercial lending in the mid-2000, 2005. Worked for a pretty big bank back then for several years, did some commercial lending, and really got involved with it when I moved over here to the credit union. I've been at Oklahoma's credit union now for 3.5 years, and we have a team of about 5 of us here. Okay. And every bank has its niche on what they like to lend on. And us here at the credit union, we're a little bit different than a bank. Obviously, everybody knows the difference between a credit union and a bank. But commercial lending is something that I'm very passionate about, because I get to help small business owners, and whether it's multifamily properties, single family residences that they use as income producing properties like investment properties. We do strip centers. We do a lot of multifamily units. So that's kind of our appetite here at the credit union. In the past, I've done commercial lending on just retail shopping centers, as well as standalone brick and mortar properties like a vet or a dentist's office, something like that. But here at Oklahoma's credit union, we have a diversified portfolio of several different types of real estate. So we do a little bit of lines of credit, business lines of credit, but our main bread and butter is commercial real estate. So.
And on the commercial business lines of credit, what typically are the qualifications, if you will, in having that type of loan? Because of usually a business line of credit, do you have to have a certain type of credit score? Do you guys go based off of their income? What are the kind of the guidelines for the business line of credit?
So our guidelines across the board, Sunny, for any type of commercial product, whether it's a commercial real estate loan or a commercial line of credit or a guidance line, is what some people refer to a line of credit as a guidance line, is 620. We're pretty, for an individual to have a credit score of 620, they're going to have to be a pretty strong borrower in other areas, meaning liquidity, no late pays. We want to see a good track record that they've had several properties on the books. Okay. And that they've made their payments on time. We want to see that their properties have maintained tenants. We want to make sure that their properties cash flow. So there are several factors that go into getting an individual qualified. A credit score is great, and better the credit, the better rate and terms we can offer you. But 620 is our minimum when it comes to a commercial line of credit or a commercial real estate loan.
Okay. And of course, it's one of those things that we educate with our residential buyers is that, having your credit in top-notch positions, especially with no lates, like you're stating, is very important to have. And so if they were just jumping into commercial real estate, is there an opportunity for some of the new people to kind of get an opportunity on that ground level, or would you recommend them to go somewhere to where they can get a couple of properties on their portfolio and then have it for about a couple of years and then come back to Oklahoma's credit union? What would you suggest for someone that's just kind of getting in, or even has thought about getting in and holding some investment properties? I know you and I are working on a mutual client right now who he currently has some properties, but there are a lot of those people that are wanting to get in. What would be your recommendations for them?
Yeah, so great question. Obviously, I've had in the past a couple people that have just jumped in head first and looked at properties that are, you know, $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million. My advice to anybody wanting to get into commercial lending is start off with something smaller. It's not easy being a landlord, and
No, it's not.
you know, several people that I work with have investment properties where they lease their property out to individuals, and then they gradually work their way up to, say, a strip center, a multifamily unit. I just closed a 12 unit multi complex here in Lincoln Terrace, just off of Lincoln Boulevard here in Oklahoma City. And that guy has several loans on the books with me, but he didn't start out with that. He started out with a couple single family homes.
Okay.
You know, built his portfolio up, and it's gradually gotten bigger and bigger and bigger into bigger projects. You know, you have to remember, you know, a strip center, you know, I say that it's an 8 unit or 12 unit or 10 unit property, you know, you're going to be dealing with 8 different individuals on 8 different industries. And it can be very challenging for a landlord. So that's when you get into what they call property management companies, where if you get too big, it's difficult to manage all those. So we always encourage people, and I do get first time people doing this, and most of them do start out with single family homes, Sunny, where they lease it out and become the landlord, and then work their way up to bigger properties. So it's not easy, but it's definitely you can make money.
Yeah, and it's a start. And we always say you don't have to start to be great, but you got to start. You definitely got to start. So
Right.
in that small amount, would you say something less than $80,000 as far as the first purchase? Like, I know some properties up to $100,000 are always good. And in most cases, there are some that has to have some rehabilitation to them. So I would like for you to speak in reference to that as far as if there's anything requirements on a commercial building. But more importantly is those that as a smaller amount, would you say anywhere between up to $80,000 as a small property, the first 2 properties maybe, and then get those under your belt?
So like I mentioned earlier, every financial institution, every lender has their appetite on what type of properties and what type of real estate they like to lend on.
Right.
Here at the credit union, we really don't like to lend on anything under 100,000, meaning we don't want a loan less than $100,000 on our books if it's
Okay.
rental income. If it's a rental property, we want something that's going to appraise for at least $120,000 and higher. You know, we don't. That's not our niche. That's not the type of portfolio we want to get involved with. Our properties have to appraise for at least $120,000
Okay.
and up. We normally don't do anything over 4 million. So if you've got anything between 120,000 and 4 million, that's us. But there are bigger banks and other banks that like loans smaller and like loans bigger. We're just not that type of institution. So 4 million is what we call our cap. We don't look at anything over 4 million. And to be honest with you, I've got 2 or 3 of those on the books that I've done in the past 3 or 4 years, but that's it. So we don't do anything more than 4 million, and anything less than 120,000. And when it comes to lending, we lend up to 80%. We require 80% down of the purchase price to get started.
So it's 80%.
Yeah. So if an individual comes to me and has a property,
price, right?
that's, you know,
That's 80% of the
say it
sales
again?
price? 80% of the sales price?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, if a guy comes to me with a property that's 100,000, we're probably not going to do it because he's going to be looking at financing around 80,000. We don't want that. We want something more than $100,000 is our minimum.
Okay.
But we find that the type of properties that we're interested in will appraise for more than 120,000. So.
And would those be those type of the ones you mentioned in the beginning, the multifamily, the retail shopping centers, things of that nature?
Probably not shopping centers and retail strip centers, and probably not those. I would say those are mostly houses, single family. You buy a property, then you lease it out. You buy a property, then you lease it out. Those are all single family homes. So that's kind of what we're looking at when it comes to the 120,000, 100,000 value. Anything over that, your strip center start up normally around $500,000. Just depends where and what they're like and how old they are. I've got a property in Grove, Oklahoma I'm doing right now that I'm closing on next week. It's a Remax real estate office. It's a 6,000 square foot building that's going to be a mortgage company. So that's an office space. That's brick and mortar. It was turnkey. It's ready to go. They're walking into it. So that's kind of an office building that's like a brick and mortar.
Okay. So it's mainly more the single family homes that you deal with.
I do. Yeah. I deal with a lot of single family, but also, I'd say my portfolio is probably 60-40, 60% single family, 40% commercial, meaning a strip center that's, got a nail salon and, a check cashing place. Everybody knows what those are, right? You see them all over town. They're
everywhere.
And now we get into CBD. So there's always a CBD shop and normally one of those. So.
Yes. Well, that's interesting. And so is there a certain number of properties that can be purchased at one given time? Now, if they're a new person, is probably one property I'm thinking that you guys would allow. And then if they're expertise like the client, we have a mutual client, of course, they could probably do 2 at a time. Is there a certain number that's maxed or minimum according to the buyer?
No. As long as he can afford it and he's a strong borrower and he has a track record that's pretty good, then we can do several properties for him. We usually don't lend. We usually don't have a TRE, or it's kind of like a threshold. We don't have more than $4 million with one individual. That way we kind of, I have a couple that have maxed out their lending limits with me. They're at 4 million and they're capped. We just don't like to put that much, I don't hate to say stock, but we just don't like to put that much stock in one individual at 4 million, and it's case by case. There are individuals that are strong borrowers and that can do that. They do this for a living. So we want to see a little bit of everything. That's why we request a lot of financials whenever you're doing a commercial real estate loan, 3 years tax returns. We like to see a personal financial statement. Those are some of the common forms and documents that we'll need to get someone approved. If a person buys a house, the lender's probably not going to ask for a PFS, a personal financial statement. But as a commercial lender, we will want to see a personal financial statement that's current up to 60 days. So lending is, obviously underwriting is difficult. However you go about it, but we'll definitely want to know more about that person, the liquidity of that person.
And you said 60 days that you need of the PFS?
Yeah, a personal financial statement, and we provide all those forms for people. Obviously, serious commercial lenders have a current PFS. They just will, because they know they're going to be asked for it. We'll need balance sheets, income statements, 3 years tax returns. We'll need entity documentation, which is not required, obviously, in retail mortgage, but it is in commercial lending. We'll need to see entity docs that they're in good standing with the state of Oklahoma. If it's an income producing property, we're going to want to see some entity docs.
Entity docs? Now, is that like showing a statement showing that those payments have been made from the actual mortgage company that they're making the payments to?
No. entity docs, whenever you start a business, you have to file with the Secretary of State of Oklahoma. The Secretary of State, I think it's a $100 fee.
It is.
And you pay that and they'll give, sorry?
No, I said it is. Yes, sir.
Yeah, $100. So I think it's $100 to apply for an LLC. Let's say it's Sunni LLC. You go to the Secretary of State and you pay $100 and you get a certificate of LLC documents showing that you are an approved business of the state of Oklahoma. And then you'll have an operating agreement that shows how your company is structured. It'll show the membership. It'll show the dues of the company. It shows the stocks, the membership. If it's you and me, Sunny, that own the company, 50%, and Robert, 50%, Sunny. And then your EIN verification. You'll be given an EIN number, which is your employer identification number, your EIN number from the state. And we have to verify that to make sure you're in good standing, that you've paid your taxes. Because if you haven't paid your business taxes, they'll slap a fine on you. But we check with that before we do any type of loan. So.
Wow. Okay. And I never really identified it as identity documents. I like how you use that.
Entity. It's called entity documents.
Entity.
ENT, entity. Yeah.
Yes, definitely entity documents is actually great. We always used to saying, just go to the Secretary of State and register your business.
Mm-hmm. A little bit more to it than that.
Yes, it's your entity documents, your EIN, your Secretary of State documents of the LLC. And there is another one that's called the good standings, and that was $25 for you to order for it. So
that's it.
In order to have those documents, those have to be prepared and brought to you at the time of their application.
Preferably. In a perfect world, yes. There are times where, way we work here at the credit union, it's not going into underwriting. It's not going to be underwritten until we have all your documents. Now, there are rules. We can bend the rules a little bit when it comes to starting the process, but we prefer to have a full packet, Sunny, before we move forward. So the entity docs are definitely part of the packet. Yeah.
Well, as one person that used to work in the mortgage industry for 5 years, that's one of the things that I've always told my buyers is to bring me a complete packet. Don't leave anything, because as you leave it out and every day that goes by is a day lost in underwriting. So I would like to express sounds like the same process with commercial lending. So if you are interested in that, make sure, and I'm obviously thinking that you would have your packets that we'll be able to give to the buyers or potential commercial buyers that will. And so if you do, or if you're listening to us live, make sure you get all those documents in place. Those are items you can request on the Secretary of State of Oklahoma's website. You can actually pay for it. It's all virtual stuff. So you can actually order it. It comes back to you in a briefcase. I know exactly what he's talking about. I just didn't understand the identity document name for it. But yes, definitely make sure that if you have those, and wrap all the insurance up, get with Nicole Lashana. She can help with you with getting all your business insurance and things of that nature. So is there anything else that's more tedious to a commercial lending besides the time frame of closing? So in doing commercial residential or commercial lending, as shall I say, Robert, the time frame for closing on a commercial deal is what time frame for you guys?
Wow, that's the $1 million question. That and the rate is probably the two questions I get asked the most. We'll talk about terms in just a minute, because commercial lending terms are a lot different than retail mortgage terms. So we'll get to that in a minute. But right now, it's turn time on appraisals is about 3 weeks. So I tell people 60 days from start to finish from when we can get you closed and signed. As you know, being a former lender, there's normally a couple hurdles that you have to jump along the way. And when you do a commercial loan, there's going to be hurdles just like any other loan. So 60 days, we always have a goal of 45. Sometimes it's 45, but things have to go smoothly. But right now we're seeing appraisals take 3 weeks. Commercial appraisals, that is, to take 3 weeks. Wow. A normal commercial appraisal on a strip center or a strip mall or something like that will take, it's a good 125 pages of the appraisal. So, it's just not something that an appraiser can knock out in half a day. There's a lot of work that goes into a commercial appraisal.
Did you say
So
100?
compared to a normal,
Did you say
yeah,
125 pages?
125. Yeah, the one I just did in Grove had 138. Now it's a little bit rural in Grove, Oklahoma, but it was still, and it's expensive too. It's a $2,500 fee for
A
a
commercial
commercial
appraisal?
appraisal.
Wow.
Hmm.
Okay, so $2,500, and usually you're trying to, prepare your buyers and having them understand that it's a cost when it comes to doing commercial. Now,
Yeah.
that's for the commercial real estate. So like for your single family residence, they're $2,500.
No,
Okay.
no, they're about 450.
Okay. Okay.
We bid that out, and I mean I see them from $400 to $500, but it's very competitive. The appraisal market is becoming very competitive, and the market's full of appraisers. And it's to the point now where I first started in this, it was like $300, $350, $310, but now we bid them out. And so like I've got a couple going to be going out next week, and we've got a bid on them, and appraisers will say, well, I'll get it to you in 2 weeks for this amount of money, or it'll only be this much for another week. So it's cheaper the longer you say you don't need it. So if it's 3 weeks, they'll charge you 400, but if you want it in 2 weeks, they'll charge you 5.
Right. And supply and demand depends on your urgency, how fast you need to close.
Got it.
So anywhere from $450 to $2,500 for the appraisal, the cost of the appraisal, about 3-week turnaround, and that's due to COVID. Under not to you guys, and of course you probably do just what we do in real estate. We actually have to request or put in an order through the system that we are not able to pick. You can't pick. It's just the
Right.
request that goes in the system, and whatever appraiser
Yep.
picks it up.
There you go.
So as a rule of thumb in residential, and I like to translate because I like for people to understand there's some similarities, but there's a lot of difference, right? And
Right.
so in
Right.
real estate, we know that in residential, we know that a appraisal can break and bust a deal. Is that the same way in commercial? I'm almost
Same way.
good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same way. Yeah, it can. Luckily, touch wood, I haven't had that happen in a long time, but it can break a deal if it's a purchase. If it comes in low, that seller's not willing to reduce the price of the appraisal. I mean, the purchase price, then
Purchase price.
we can't get it done, but it works the same, Sonny.
Okay. Okay. And so the terms to the commercial lending are just as you kind of outlined at the very beginning: 620 credit score. They want no lates. They like to see previous cash flow, good standings of history. So if you're listening live on us on Podbean or Facebook, definitely want to make sure that if you have some more in-depth questions, this is just to give you a tip of the purge of how to get in contact with someone with some residential questions, right? Just to make sure that if there's anything as far as commercial lending, you got to have your ducks in a row. It's a different animal than residential. And so it's a lot more a price point versus just buying one property. Again, as we were talking about in our live segment, that you can even purchase a couple of properties at one given time. But I'm so grateful that you guys are right here in Oklahoma. Oklahoma's credit union. And I'm truly grateful for that. And so for the terms, did you want to dive into anything with the terms?
Yeah. So normally with a retail mortgage, the people that you normally deal with when they go to their finance company or bank or credit union, they'll be looking at a 30-year note. 30-year, 3.5%, whatever, 3%. I know rates are super low right now, so we'll just say 3%. But on a commercial loan, on a business loan, they're a little bit different. We don't lock anything in longer than 5 years. So all our loans are, and this is pretty industry standard across the board. Now there are a few exceptions to the rule, but you're looking at a 5-year fixed loan with a 15-year maturity on a 25-year AM. And I'm sure you guys all know what that means, but commercial loans are only locked in for 5 years. So we'll lock you in and the rates are always higher too. An outstanding rate right now on a commercial property is 4%. I've done 3.875. I've done 5.25. It's all rate sensitive. So depending on how the market is and the rates are at that time. That's kind of how we price our loans. But for the majority of them, they're around 4.42, 4.1.
Okay.
So we lock them in for 5 years. So for 5 years, your rate's going to be 4.25. Your payment's going to be based on a 25-year amortization. So your loan payment is actually based on a 25-year note, which is fantastic. Not all banks and credit unions offer a 25-year amortization. Most of them are 20, but we offer 25. We also offer 30 if the property is less than 5 years in age. It doesn't happen very often, but it can. So we lock it in for 5 years at 4.25, and then it's a 15-year maturity, meaning every 5 years that loan will reprice for the first 15 years. So your first 5 years is 4.25. After 5 years, we're going to ask you, Sunny, for some documents. We're going to say, hey, is your property still producing? Have you made all your payments on time? Are all your tenants still there? What do the leases look like? Have you raised the rent on these people? How many vacancies do you have? Things like that. So we're going to want to know a little bit of information after 5 years as to what's going on. You went into this as an income producing property. We want to make sure that you're still producing income from this property. We usually keep the rate the same after 5 years. It's usually 4.25, then it go 4.25 again up to 15 years. And after 15 years, we'll have to refinance the entire property and do a new appraisal, do more title work, things like that. So we only lock it in for 5 years.
Now
But the
those
payments
costs,
is 25.
now those costs for up to the 15 years, after the 15 years, how do you get those numbers based off of that?
Well, normally in a perfect world, it won't get to 15 years. Normally what happens is they pay it off a little bit earlier. They pay it off. They make additional payments to principal.
Mhm.
So it will never get to 5. It will never get to the 15 years. If it does and they want to refinance, then we'll refinance it for them. But they're going to have to pay for another appraisal. They're going to have to pay for more title work, which can be very cost. I mean, it's okay. You have to do it to do the loan. It's part of the guidelines. But
Right.
5 years is the rate's locked, and every 5 years up until 15, we'll ask for additional tax returns. We'll ask for additional rent roll. We want to see an updated personal financial statement. We want to see that the property is still producing income for you.
Okay. So rent rolls.
And any loan over $500,000, we put a prepayment penalty on there.
So that's any loan that's over?
$500,000, we put a prepayment penalty on. Mm-hmm.
And is that based on the loan amount, or is there just a flat fee for that early payout?
Good question. So I think every bank does it a little bit different. We have what they call the 5-4-3-2-1 prepayment penalty. And it's on there for 5 years. So your prepayment penalty is on there for 5 years. Okay. So if you pay it off before 5 years, you owe 5% of the loan. After year 4, it's 3%, 2%, 1%. Does that make sense?
Okay. Okay.
So it's called 5-4-3-2-1. Now you can refinance it with us, but if you move it to another lender and you paying it off, there's no penalty. But sorry, let me take that back. If you pay it off, there is a fee for 5 years.
Awesome. I'm just writing down these notes. There's some good information. If you all have any questions, I want to check in with you all on Facebook. If you have questions, please tag or let me know. If you have questions on Podbeam, go ahead and post them. We have a few of you all that are here. Thank you so much for popping in. This is Neighborhood Jams with Sunni Pouncil. I'm super excited that you have taken the time to join us this afternoon. Okay, I don't see any questions. Okay. All righty. And so anything else pertaining to the terms? That's good information for a potential customer.
Yeah, it's just on a investment, on a single family home or on any type of commercial loan or business loan to purchase, it's 20% down. So you got to be serious about it. You got to have some skin in the game to purchase a single family home. Most you can do an FHA loan for 3.5%, 5% conventional, but if you do a business loan on a commercial loan, you're going to be looking at minimum of 20% down based on the purchase price. So that's important.
That is. Now, do the funds have to be source seasoned, come from a specific friend? Can it be a gift? How does that process work with you guys?
So if it's gifted, that's fine. We want to see a paper trail on where the funds came from, obviously. It's happened maybe once, maybe twice since I've been doing this. So, 99.9% of the time that the funds are that individual's funds from his account. We don't, we'll do a full underwrite and want to know where those funds came from, of course, for sure. There's no PMI with commercial loans like there are with retail mortgage loans.
That's awesome.
Or FHA. There's no PMI. No taxes and insurance are normally not included in a payment for a business loan, a commercial loan. They're not included. We make the individual pay for those themselves.
That's something that you guys might be considering at some point in time?
Never.
Never?
And we're not set up to, I say never. I mean, never say never, but
right.
We're not set up to do that.
Okay.
Our system is just not set up to do that.
Gotcha.
And we were talking earlier about industries. There are certain industries that we just won't look at and touch when it comes to a business loan. We have no desire to do any type of business lending for restaurants. That's just an industry that we're not comfortable lending in. Car dealerships, casinos, check cashing places, gambling, gaming, gas stations. We have no desire to, and it's difficult to find a lender that will, because how many restaurants fail? That's why it's such a huge risk.
Yeah.
To open a restaurant, because they come up and they go down. They come up and they go down. They're not a secure industry. And, we're not willing to lend on any of those industries I mentioned.
Now, you did mention one in particular, and I just wanted to circle back to that, which was the CBD stores and stuff like that, as they are anything like Canna friendly businesses.
Negative.
Locations like that.
So, I would say it's starting to die down a bit. I think the market is flooded with CBD stores. You drive up May Avenue from 50th of May to 122nd of May, there's like 83. And I'm not kidding you. There's that many CBD stores.
Wow.
We don't lend on any type of CBD industry. We want nothing to do with it. Now, I don't even know if you can open a bank account if you're a CBD shop owner. It's really harped on and looked. I won't say frowned upon, but it's just not something that banks want to get involved in.
Mm-hmm.
We don't ever. We've take calls for people that want a line of credit or a guidance line for a CBD shop, but we just don't do it. I don't even. I say I'm sorry, I can't do it. Kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier about a strip center. A lot of strip centers have CBD shops in them. We feel as a credit union and as a staff that it's gonna eventually there's gonna be too many and they're gonna start going under. So when we qualify a strip center, an individual for a loan, we don't include the income from the CBD shop. So if that makes any sense, not be too much information, but we don't acknowledge that as an industry at all.
Okay. Well, this is awesome, great information. I'm working on 4 pages of notes. Looks like we need to have some clients that are ready to sign up and take ownership and take your business to the next level. How do you So for the commercial buildings with the appraisals at $2,500,
Yes.
I was going to try to make sure my question, because I think we've already addressed that, because I was going to go back to the type of businesses those would align with, because there's anything that's outside of what you won't do, you will do according to the commercial buildings, correct? So as long as it's not these
Yeah. I mean, we're
just named.
Yeah, well, I mean, we always, I mean, I don't ever commit on the first phone call. I want to take a look at the property. Um, you know, some people call and want to refinance or purchase properties that we're just not interested in.
So no refis.
There's several. Say it again, Sonny.
No refis for your portfolio for commercial businesses?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll refinance. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll refi anything. I mean, within reason. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. I really think that those terms are really flexible. It just depends on, the person and their time frame of which they're having to borrow the funds. But again, like you said, if they do the small amount first and they're able to build it up, then, pretty soon you can, you get a little, you take care of a
Yeah.
little, and you're able to get a little bit more.
That's right.
And it's always good to keep your clients there. Now, do they have to have a bank account? I know some credit unions, some bank, they want you to have a credit account there in order to get any type of loans or services with them. Does that fall in that same suit with you all?
It does. So to become a member of our credit union, there's guidelines and stipulations, and you have to meet our criteria. And Oklahoma's credit union used to be called Oklahoma Employees Credit Union, and you have to be a state employee to do business with us.
Yes.
They loosened that 5 years ago, and they opened their membership bases up because there's banks on every corner now. So we opened it up, and if you work, I think it's work, worship, or live in a county that touches Oklahoma County, then you are eligible for membership. So just think of Oklahoma County and all the surrounding counties that touch Oklahoma County. If you work, live, or worship in one of those counties, then you're eligible for our membership. And we do require you to become a member to do business with us. It's a simple bank account, checking account, savings account. So yes, we do require you to become a member to do business with us.
Awesome. Okay. Well, was there any more information that you would like to share? I know we're kind of getting close to the top of our 45-minute, if not close to it. But I wanted to make sure.
No, I think we covered a lot. I appreciate it. We covered a lot of information. If you would share my contact information, Sonny, I would appreciate it. I'm always open for a phone call, and additional information can be provided. So no, I wish everybody best of luck. And no, it was an enjoyable 45 minutes. I hope I gave some information that everyone can use.
You did. And I'm grateful for you sharing that information. And if you do need to get a hold of Robert, definitely make sure that you get a hold of him at Oklahoma's Credit Union, and he can be reached at 405-602-6337 is the direct number to the office there. Also reach out to robert.suffield@okcu.org for email information. And as always, Robert, we thank you for stopping in. We'll be checking back with you, of course, throughout the year of 2021 for any upcoming programs that you guys have. Would love to have you come back on and educate us. Commercial lending is one of the commercial resident real estates. Let me correct that. Commercial real estate is where I'm starting to dive into. So I'm hoping to get more clients in your pipeline there and do some more business with you as well for 2021. So I'm looking forward to that, Robert.
Thank you, Sonny. I appreciate you having me on.
No problem. Thank you for having me on. You're welcome to hang around, or you're welcome to hop off if you need to go. We totally understand.
I got a 3 o'clock, so I'll chat later.
No problem. You have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. And for everyone else that is tuned in, I will go ahead and share with you our sponsor spotlighters with Neighborhood Jams with Sunni Pouncil at this time. It is truly a blessing to be partnering up with a lot of these individuals and businesses that have come a long ways with me. So give me just a second here. I'm going to switch screens. Ah, hey, let me get back to the right one here. You never know. I got so many different ones. Let's see here. Nope, it's not that one. It might be this one. It is. All right. So it's time for Neighborhood Jam sponsored spotlighters. And we're going to start out with up. We got this screen kind of, it's one of those things. I'm still working with my screen here. So this is Neighborhood Jam sponsored spotlighters for today. And my first one will be, of course, Miss Nicole Lashana. We also call her Nicole Wright, but she is also one of those that you can get a hold of to get your insurance quotes, your homeowners, your auto, your commercial. My gosh, make sure you reach out to her. She's giving out free quotes. Why choose them? With flexible insurance companies, flexible payment plans, same day services. You've got to call Nicole and get your quote. She's my personal insurance agent, and she'll take care of you just as well as she's taking care of me. So make sure that if you are in need, as well as for rentals, make sure you get in contact with her. Call Nicole today at 405-255-9676. Nicole Wright at Narissa Berry's Insurance Agency. Call her 405-255-9676. And of course, she also has a every Tuesday podcast that you definitely want to make sure you tune into. Nicole is doing big things and sharing information that you can use regarding, I'm trying to get this screen to minimize here, regarding some ins and outs about insurance quotes. So if you have insurance questions, tune in every Tuesday at 4 o'clock to her on her podcast. Be looking for her flyers. And this is the cutest one of her latest one. It's the Insurance the Right Way with Nicole Lashana Wright. She's your insurance agent. Make sure you reach out to her. Oh my, we're getting ready for Respect the Crown. If you have not gotten your tickets, we're just about sold out. Please make sure that you do get your tickets. If you have not gotten them, I have them here at TNT Cannabis at 11102 North Stratford Drive, Suite B as in boy 700. Don't miss this spectacular event. We're calling all queens. We have several different speakers that are coming out to talk to you all in various fashions, from learning about herbs with Raquel Rogers, from mental abuse with Monica King Wheaton, from It's Okay to Not Be Okay from Ricky Williams, to The Fight Never Stops. She's a breast cancer survivor fighting breast cancer again for the second time. Jalea K's bringing texture self-care, a fashion show for us queens. You cannot miss this event. Tickets are $25. We're starting out with the red carpet at 3 p.m. And that's just the host of the speakers. There's a whole lineup of them. So there's at least 7 to 10 of them. So come on out. Yours truly will be the host for the hour, or the MC for the hour. And I cannot wait to respect the queens. If you have a tiara or a crown, we're asking all queens to bring those with you, as we're doing a special tribute just for you. So make sure that you are bringing your, get your tickets. It's February the 27th, 2021, and we're rolling out the red carpet at 3 p.m., right? Let me make sure what else I have on here for you all. Of course, yours truly is going to be with the my bio. With over 12 years of experience, 7 years now as a real estate agent, 5 years as a loan officer, it's time for you to consider, if you are in the market to want to purchase your home, sell your home, get with the real estate agent. I am truly in the market to educate my community on home ownership, right? It is the most prominent thing to do. It's the best thing to do, and it's the right thing to do. I don't want you to go another moment thinking that you cannot have keys to your unique home. We can get you helped. As you saw the commercial clippings, tune in with me next week, as we're going to be diving into the commercial, the residential side of real estate. So don't miss out. These first 2 Thursdays, I want to kick off commercial, just to show you that if your mindset is there for business ownership, There's a lot of businesses out here. Now, let me share with you, I did share that I'm getting into the commercial real estate industry, but that doesn't mean that I'm still dealing with any of the rentals or the lease. Those are strictly up to you to go out and find. The landlords would like to speak with you directly anyway. So that is not a place for an actual real estate agent. I'm actually in the buy and sell business. So if you're interested in purchasing a business or selling a business, a brick and mortar building, well, make sure you get in contact with me. I would love to work with you and get you set up. As well as for the residential side, been doing it for 7 years, locking and securing keys for families in the state of Oklahoma. Now, I do have other partner agencies and real estate agents that I'm connected to. So regardless of what state you're in, I can assist you with that. But I want to make sure you're getting well taken care of, right? So you can reach out to me at 405-201-4241, or you can always go to my website at youruniquehome.com. And that's the letter U, the letter R, uniquehome.com. Very unique way of doing that. So that is my time for today. So make sure that you do tune in next week. As we do start spearheading and talking about the home ownerships, we definitely want to make sure that we're getting you plugged in with all the details, everything that you could possibly need regarding real estate. I'll be hosting my first home buyers education class come February the 13th. Stay tuned for those flyers. We're doing it at a remote location. Oh, and in June, I have a special home buyers class that we're going to go visit a new build, one of my clients who took 2 years to stop and get her credit intact, as well as her income, and went from getting qualified for $125,000. Fast forward to 2 years and built a $3,000 square foot home. We will be going live in June. We're doing a special VIP by home buyers class right there. We want to talk to you about home ownership and doing it by building your custom built homes. So I'm super excited about what's to bring for 2021. I so hope that you can stay connected with me. If you like what you're seeing, please make sure you have subscribed to my YouTube channel, set those notifications, and stick around and make sure you come back, right? I don't want you to be out here by yourself or finding something. And there's a lot of us awesome agents out here that are doing all that we can. So make sure you stay connected with us. But for right now, for this real estate agent, Neighborhood Gems needs to be the one that you tune into every Thursday right here at 2 o'clock on Podbean, YouTube, and Facebook. That is my time for today. I hope that you have a great Thursday, a great weekend, and I'll see you right back here next Thursday. Bye-bye for now.